Hi there everyone, GuardianE here with another news update video for Azur Lane. Today we're going to be covering the latest news and reveals both within and outside of the app. Before we get started, I will just briefly remind you that if you do enjoy the content that we put out, including Azur Lane videos, and you would like to support me, support the channel, please consider subscribing, leaving a like down below, leaving a comment. It really does help us out and we really do appreciate it. And if not, thank you so much for checking out the video. With that, let's get started. So first up, Yoastar did tweet and tease that there would be some incoming system adjustments in the next maintenance, likely set for April 7th. So number one, they are going to be making some adjustments to the permanent build pool. Number two, they are going to be reducing the clearing requirement within the War Archive to simply one run. And third, some gold ships are going to be added to stages in the War Archive as drops. So what this effectively means is that they're going to adjust the permanent construction build pool by removing ships from it and instead placing them in the metal exchange, the guild shop, the merit shop, and also place them as drops on certain stages within the War Archive. Now furthermore, the War Archive itself is going to be easier to farm now since they've reduced the clearing requirement to a single run. So now you can get to the relevant farming node much quicker. Now, they have done this sort of thing in the past. It's not terribly common, but it has been done. And honestly, I think it's a pretty good change. I mean, I think depending on the drop rate of the ships, which ships go into the shop versus which are going to be added to certain nodes, fewer ships in the build pool means less congestion, greater likelihood that you'll get an individual ship that's left within that pool. So I'm hoping that they clean up some of the gold ships that are there, and I hope they take a closer look at the elite pool as well, because the elite pool is grossly oversaturated. But I'm curious to everybody out there, what are your thoughts on the upcoming changes? Of course, we're going to get more details and probably more concrete understanding of which ships are going to go where in the very near future. But who are you hoping gets moved to the shops? Who are you hoping gets moved into the War Archives instead? New cruise missions and cruise pass dropped, a little late on the uptake here. Of course, the new cruise missions feature the brand new Yamashiro meta. Yamashiro's art was leaked last year, and so we're finally getting this anticipated design in the game. She looks fantastic. That stark, gothic color palette, the tantalizingly full cleavage, lovely, shapely thighs, provocatively torn stockings, and those rich crimson eyes. She's perched atop this lantern. That rigging is just enormous, gigantic, a very industrial look, almost emulating a building or a factory with a Japanese motif. Now, she will be obtainable for free simply by completing the cruise missions themselves. You don't have to get the cruise pass. Very easy for every player to do. But if you opt to go in for the Fair Winds Cruise Pass this time, it features a new travel-themed skin for Enterprise, Bon Voyage. Now, I will say I'm really not the biggest fan of this one personally. I mean, I like her smile and her eyes. I even like the shades propped up on her head, her long flowing hair. But otherwise, she kind of just looks like this amorphous blob with all these layers of clothing. It's so devoid of color, being almost completely dark, which obscures a lot of the details. She's turned away from us and has to look back towards us, which is just overall relatively uninviting, makes it harder to create an interesting composition and pose. Now, I certainly recognize that these skins have been on the more conservative side of things, but even so, this personally feels like a bit of a misstep. I mean, to be honest, she doesn't even really look that good in those jeans, which is a bigger tragedy. I don't know, I'm just struggling with this one. Other than the elaborate, building backdrop that is admittedly very detailed, you're not buying a skin to look at the backdrop alone. Enterprise is supposed to be the centerpiece here, and this one's really not my cup of tea. And for April Fools, we got a cool new main screen with this JoJo's aesthetic. So nice, love the animations. But that aside, if you go to the Azur Lane Twitter page, there is a link to retweet and share on Facebook to get entered into a raffle for some prizes, including gems, cubes, and coins. There are only going to be 20 winners total, but doesn't hurt to try if you're on those social media channels. You can enter daily until April 6th. And by the way, there is an extended version of that main screen with that song on the official Azur Lane YouTube channel that I will link down below. Now, the Japanese Azur Lane Twitter also revealed a trailer for a would-be Azur Lane JRPG for April Fools, with a release of April 1st, 2200. So get your pre-orders in and settle in for a nice 180-year development cycle. We'll be waiting with bated breath for that one. And we do have a Bullen-themed mini-event that's going to have a special stage that you can clear that will ultimately get you and net you a new limited piece of furniture. So that is pretty nice, and that event is going to run until the next maintenance, which I believe is scheduled for the 7th of April. And speaking of April Fools, the Yostar store has dropped some new Azur Lane merch to celebrate April Fools as well. Now these include some new double-sided design pattern eye masks, which are both hilarious and hypnotic, featuring the unmistakably booksome Sirius, Formidable, and Zara. A nice spread of eye candy for your eye masks. Each one of these is going to cost you $15. In matching shipgirl design in chibi form are 3 night lights. Once again, one for Sirius, one for Formidable, and one for Zara. Each light also comes with a limited edition metal pin, and each one will cost $35. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, there is the official April Fool's Day 2022 Azur Lane t-shirt series, featuring all 3 of the Eagle Union ships, Essex, Enterprise, and San Diego, with their JoJo's inspired art. There is a shirt for each one of them, and then a shirt that features all 3, and each one of the shirts will cost $30. So out of the 3 options, I think the eye masks appeal to me the most. I probably have the most use for an eye mask. They're also hilarious, and they do offer a very beautiful view. And I also do certainly appreciate the ship selection this time around with Formidable, Sirius, and Zara. Love all 3 of them, so great choices. And the day after April Fools, the Japanese Twitter did reveal this short ASMR video featuring Ayanami. So if you are a fan of Ayanami and you're a fan of ASMR, maybe get those headphones on, go over to the Japanese Azur Lane Twitter and enjoy. So hopefully they roll out more of these for different characters. I think that's pretty neat. And in Azur Lane figure news, a few new pre-orders dropped. Freeing and Union Creative opened pre-orders for their 1/4 scale bunny suit Washington figure, based off of the Slow Ahead anime appearance, and I'm sure that North Carolina will not be too far behind. Now, Washington will retail for 30,000 yen, or around $250 US. Now, I know some people out there were disappointed at the decision to make these two off of the Slow Ahead adaptation, but I personally really love Hori's representation and art style, so I was pretty excited to see the final prototype. Now that being said, I think that the prototype does look a little off in the facial features. Certainly not as bad as I think some people out there are suggesting. I think she still looks nice, even if they could have done a little bit better with the expression. She's currently slated for a December 2022 release. Mime Yoi also unveiled the final promo shots of their Bremerton 1/7 scale, based on her scorching hot training tennis skin, and pre-orders are currently live. Now this one is actually 1/7 scale rather than the deluge of 1/4 scales that Mime Yoi has been putting out recently, and with that smaller scale comes a more reasonable price tag as well. So there are currently 2 variations available: the full version with the fence, the bag, the accessories to comprise the scene as a whole, and that's going to be going for 18,000 yen, or $150 US approximately, and there will be a more budget option called the TF edition, without any of the accessories, except for I think just the Manjuu, for 14,000 yen, or around $120 US. I think it's really great that they're adding different variations and different price points to give people more options. I think that's always a good thing. But anyway, Bremerton's scale figure here is just really, really impressive. I think that the fence incorporation is clever. I haven't quite seen a figure do something like that before, where it kind of visually fades in and out. It feels less obtrusive and lighter as a whole, while still capturing the essence of the scene and making sure that the focus is on Bremerton herself. And Bremerton herself looks phenomenal. Certainly does faithfully capture her spectacular proportions, beautiful pink and gray hair, the loose-fitting, sweat-drenched top. There's even an option to cast off and remove her skirt to reveal some surprisingly scandalous undergarments. I wasn't originally planning on picking this up because it actually isn't one of my favorite skins for Bremerton, even though I own it. But it's just so well done, it's definitely making me reconsider. All the variants of Bremerton are currently scheduled for a May 2023 release. But in any case, if you'd like to pre-order either Washington or Bremerton, You can use my affiliate link down in the description and comments below for Hobby Link Japan. It does support me and the channel, but of course otherwise they are definitely available at the usual suspects and a vendor of your choice, so AmiAmi, Tokyo Otaku Mode, Hobby Search, domestic vendors like Right Stuff. I will note that AmiAmi currently does have an acrylic strap bonus with the pre-order. And that is more or less it for the latest news right now. Me, on my side of things, I'm continuing to do pulls and farm on the current virtual tower event. We will be putting out a Hunt for Teased video in the near future with a wrap-up of the virtual tower as a whole. If you are interested in seeing that, be sure to subscribe and get notified when that goes live. And of course, if you want to see my very, very painful Day 1 pulls on the virtual tower, I'll also link that at the end here for convenience. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, let's protect those waters.